What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, and in this video I want to talk to you guys about 5 mistakes that producers make when creating. Now let's get right into it. Now these are in no particular order, so just keep that in mind. Number 1, not leaving space for the vocalist. Now I've seen this on so many occasions where producers will overproduce, and generally they'll think, oh my god, something is missing, something is missing. You're right. It's the artist, it's the singer. So I always think it's better to underproduce, because especially if you're working with the artist, you can always add post-production after. But it's better to do a little bit less than to do too much, and then there's no room for the vocalist and they can't even hear themselves singing on the track. There was a time where I went on a Zoom call and the artist was like, producers, drop your beats, whatever. And they started playing like all the beats. I dropped one and I was like, oh my god, these beats are so good. Like, I don't know if they're gonna pick mine. You know what I mean? And they were like such good beats. And by the time she got to my beat, she started singing on it immediately. And then she was like, okay, we're going with this one. And I was like, it's not that I realized it then, but I was like, right, because I had space for the artist. The other beats were phenomenal. They just had no space for the singer. They were great to just listen to on its own. Like, they were just finished. Number 2, overcomplicating the arrangement or not having any type of arrangement. I've heard some productions before that I was very confused as a writer and I didn't know where I fit. Now, it wasn't overproduced, but it just didn't make sense structurally. I didn't know when the chorus was. I didn't know when the pre-chorus was supposed to start. I just didn't know what the structure was. Now, there's no like set structure, but there should be changes at certain points where, you know, okay, let me switch it up here. Okay, let me switch it up here. It should seem relatively clear for the writer where they fit on the song and how to go about it with their melodies, because the relationship between the melody and the beat is very important, and it's kind of like a marriage, so they work together. So not having something that's clear can become very confusing, and then maybe even result in them not even wanting to work on the beat anymore. Number 3, taking the time to build your ear. Now, this is not necessarily a mistake, but there are people who don't see value in it, and I think that that's unfortunate, because your ability to pick the right sounds is gonna come at a huge advantage for you, because you might not even need to add too many sounds in your production because you chose the right sounds. Now, this is something that takes time. I definitely encourage you to get feedback on your productions. I offer feedback on beats, songs, lyrics, all of that good stuff. And I'll drop the link for that in the description below, so if you need feedback, hit me up. But getting feedback on your songs or productions is a cheat code, because you kind of have like ear blindness. So sometimes, especially when you're just starting, you can't hear where it's at. Like, you made something and that's great and you feel really good about it, but you want to know like where you're at sonically, and that's super important when you're making a song. Number 4, lacking dynamics in the production. Sometimes the production could be simple and there's no issue with that, but it just lacks dynamics. Now, you can create dynamics in many different ways. You can do it by removing the drums in one section, removing the hi-hats, removing the snare, adding riser, adding cinematic sounds in a certain section. It doesn't necessarily have to be an extraordinary amount of transitions or dynamic things that you have to add. It's just enough for the song to get that push and pull. It could also be switching up the chord progression. So there's many different ways you can go about it, but creating some sort of dynamics to create a different type of feel and have a bit of an ebb and flow on your beat is really good. And that also could add to the arrangement / structure of your beat. Number 5, never feeling like the production is finished. I've seen this many times before where you can then tend to overproduce the song or just never feel like it's done. While that can benefit you at times, most of the time it won't, because you'll end up wasting a lot of time and delaying the record from being finished. It's okay if the beat is not turning out how you expected it to be. The beauty about creating is you can just start over. You can just put it to the side and move on to the next one. Or take a break from it and come back to it later. Or ask for feedback from a producer friend or somebody that you trust. Musically, the flow of creation is very important, especially for me. I do not force it. If I'm not feeling the beat, if it's not clicking, I'll come back to it later or the next day, and if I'm still not liking it, I will either get a friend to co-produce it with me, or I'll just move on to the next one completely. Because I shouldn't be breaking my brain on a production. The flow is important. Taking a break is important. Sometimes I take a break and come back to it and I get the idea. You know what I mean? There is moments where you spend a little bit of time, but it's kind of like just understanding that ebb and flow. And remember to have fun when you're creating, because I feel like some people are trying to make every song or every beat a hit, and because they're going in with that type of underlying intention, they end up restricting themselves subconsciously. So just have fun when you're creating, because you never know like what's gonna come out of it. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any thoughts or questions below, and I will talk to you guys again soon.